Story 6, Part 9. The Pulse and the Light. The pulse never slept. That night, it surged through the alleys of Chicago like liquid fire, crawling into the subway vents, humming beneath the rails, infiltrating buildings, touching the living and the vanishing alike. I could feel it in my chest, a heartbeat alien and vast, insisting that I bend to its rhythm, that I become another instrument of its will. But then, for the first time since the vanished one, a different presence emerged, quiet, steady, and undeniable. A warmth that opposed the pulse's vibration, like a counter-melody threading through the city's dark symphony. I didn't recognize it immediately. The pulse hissed, recoiled slightly, as if it sensed an intrusion it could not control. And then I understood. This was not of the pulse. I followed the tug, moving through the alleys and tunnels, the shadows rippling unnaturally around me. Shapes whispered, voices luring me to falter, tempting me to give myself fully to the rhythm, but the warmth guided me, pushing back the dissonance. In a dilapidated church near the river, I saw him. Not fully, not in all glory, but enough. A light poured from the sanctuary, pure, unrelenting, a presence that made the pulse shiver in its invisibility. "You've seen the pulse," a voice said, deep, resonant, like the echo of eternity itself. "And now you see me. Fear not. I am the light that guides the city, even when the darkness pretends to rule." I realized, then, the truth I had been circling without naming. The pulse was not random. It had a master. And that master, its hunger, its ability to twist students into instruments, was not human. It was Satan, weaving a network of chaos through Chicago, consuming hope and innocence, feeding on fear. Every vanished student, every strange rhythm beneath the streets, every whisper in the shadows, it was all part of a meticulous plan to bind the city to him. "You see it now," the light continued, "but the story does not end in despair. The pulse moves, but it is finite. The city, and its people, are not yours to claim completely." The warmth expanded. It touched the pulse itself, not with violence but with authority. The rhythm wavered, distorted, and for the first time, I heard it cry, not with malice, but with a panic that came from confronting something infinitely greater. The pulse was a weapon of darkness, yes, but the light was more than a weapon, it was a promise. "You, Elias Gravenmoor," the presence said, "have been chosen to see both sides. To confront the darkness without being consumed. And in this city, I will write a plan of salvation, one that even the pulse cannot erase." I understood then that Chicago itself had become a stage. Satan's pulse had tested students, twisted streets, and bent reality to its rhythm, but God's plan was woven more subtly: protect the faithful, awaken the lost, expose the darkness, and redeem what the enemy sought to claim. The vanished students were not lost, not completely, they were caught in pulse's grip, yes, but they were threads that could be untangled. Avery's face flashed in my mind. Was he part of the salvation plan, or a casualty of the testing? I did not know. What I did know was that I had a choice: to fight as a lone witness, guided only by fear, or to step fully into the light, becoming an instrument of God's rescue in a city that needed it more than ever. The pulse surged again, sensing resistance. Shadows grew taller. Voices multiplied, and the alleys twisted in unnatural geometries. But this time, I did not falter. The warmth in the church, God's presence, poured into me, threading through my mind, steadying me, teaching me that even in the darkest rhythm, there was a counter-rhythm: life, hope, and salvation. Satan had a plan. But God had the city. And his plan would not fail. I stepped into the streets with new clarity. The pulse was no longer merely a threat, it was a challenge, a test, a battlefield. Every shadow, every flicker of disappearing students, Every tremor in the city's foundations became a summons. Act with courage, expose the darkness, and help the lost find the light. Chicago was alive. It pulsed with danger. But now, I could see the threads of salvation winding through the chaos, waiting to be followed, to rescue, to reclaim. And I knew, finally, that this war beneath the city streets was not mine alone. It was the story of God's people, of His plan for redemption, and I had been called to walk in it. The pulse awaited me. And so did the light.